This week's episode is brought to you in partnership with Zero Procure, who are here to make procurement simple, offering great value and quality for products and services, all for zero cost. And what business wouldn't want that? I am delighted that their support will now help keep this show accessible and free to listen to wherever you access your podcasts. Please get in touch with them for a chat. Just click on their link in the show notes or visit their site at zeroprocure.com/podcast. Welcome to Hospitality Meets with me, Phil Street, where each week we take a light-hearted look into the stories and individuals that make up the wonderful world of hospitality. Today's guest is Rob Byrom, Group Hospitality Services Manager at Hallmark Care Homes. Coming up on today's show, Rob talks about vegetables.
Veg is difficult, you know, everyone likes their veg slightly different.
Phil talks about the 5 C's of cost control. Cost. And Rob pitches a new uniform concept.
Hard hat, hard boots, high vis, etc.
All that and so much more as Rob talks us through his story and journey to date. Rob is on a mission. He wants to put care firmly on the hospitality radar as a credible sector within the industry. I'm lucky enough to have been to one of Hallmark's homes, as a visitor, I hasten to add, and I can confirm that they really are something special, and I'm very happy to lend this show's weight in Rob's mission. A huge thank you to him for coming on the show and sharing his story. We're here each week telling the stories of the amazing people within hospitality, so please don't forget to give us a like, share and a review on whatever podcast platform you're listening. It really does make a huge difference. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to the next episode of Hospitality Meets with me, your host, Phil Street. Now, when I started this podcast, one of the objectives was to showcase all of the different career paths and sectors available within the wonderful world of hospitality. Today, we add another string to that bow as we move into hospitality within care. Not only that, we've gone to one of the very best care providers and managed to get some time with the awesome and candidate for Beard of the Year, Rob Byrom from Hallmark Care Homes. Rob, welcome to the show.
Hi there, Phil. How are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
No problem at all. Let's get the beard out of the way quickly. It is a belter. And for those who are listening to this, I'm sorry you're missing a piece of absolute beauty.
Thank you very much. Yes, a lot of time and effort goes into that, but no, I appreciate your comments.
Yeah, wicked. Excellent. So where are you today? Where are you recording from?
I'm actually working from home this morning, and then I'm going over to one of our care homes, Hutton View, this afternoon.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So we'll come on to Hallmark as we progress through the conversation. We'll learn a little bit more about what you guys do. I was introduced to you guys, I think, it's pre-COVID, so 2019, 18, that sort of time. Helped you guys find a couple of people through the business. And I think it's safe to say that I had some vision of what being in care was within hospitality. And having visited one of your sites, I thought that myth was busted very, very quickly.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of thoughts behind care homes. And I think to a certain extent, we're a little bit stuck in our old ways, especially if you've never entered sort of a care home as such, or maybe a care home that's not quite sort of the standard of maybe a Hallmark home or many other high-end providers. We do sort of have that bad image in our minds, don't we? Yeah. I must admit, I was exactly the same. Before I started working at Hallmark, I had that vision of a care home. But again, as soon as I walked through the doors, I was blown away with, wow, this looks like a 5-star hotel. This certainly wasn't the care home I assumed in my head.
Totally. And that was exactly, it felt like a country house hotel, but yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, before you got to Hallmark, there's a whole backstory. So take us all the way back to the beginning of your career. How did you get into hospitality in the first place?
To be honest with you, I fell into hospitality by mistake.
Right.
So growing up, I'd always wanted to be a builder. So my dad has always worked in construction for a long time, and growing up, seeing him being a role model, I'd wanted to follow in his footsteps, to be honest, and I did start that. So my first job when I left school was actually a labourer for a building company, actually working with my dad, and we were refurbishing 3 hotel rooms quite locally in Chelmsford. I'm based in Brentwood in Essex.
Right.
Yeah, we refurbished the 3 hotel rooms, and I got talking to the hotel team there, as you do, because we were there for a couple of months. And the deal was to either go back to sort of college or uni or to sort of school, or get a job with my parents. That was the deal. You can't just, leave school and not do anything. You've either got to carry
Yeah,
on
I
your
know.
education
Gutting, that, isn't
or get a
it?
job. Yeah, I thought it was a bit harsh at the time, but looking back, I
Yeah.
thought it's pretty fair, wasn't it? To be honest.
Yeah.
So a job opportunity came up at a hotel in Chelmsford. So I thought, why not? Let's give it a go. I'm going to earn a little bit of money and see where it goes. So my plan was to work there for a few months, just until I find something I really want to do with my life, because I wasn't sure, like most sort of 17-year-olds, or
Yeah. Yeah.
you're not quite sure what you want to do with your career.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, it went from there. So I planned to be there for 3 months. So I started off looking after conferences and banquets. So, just setting them up, make sure they're okay, serving, etc., clearing down. And then 18 months later, I was still there, very comfortable, and realised, I've had a great 18 months, but actually, there's no progression here, and I need to really start doing something. So that's when I looked into doing an apprenticeship, because I didn't really want, I was used to getting a wage, and I wanted some more sort of education, some grades behind me. So
Yep.
I thought for me, an apprenticeship was the best thing for me. So I looked at apprenticeships and looked at business and admin and different bits like that. So I actually ended up getting a business and admin apprenticeship, and it was based at a care home in Billericay. Quite skeptical at the start, and I thought, well, let's give it a go. Let's see what it's all about. Let's go for the interview and let's see where it goes. And I walked into Hallmark at the time, and not expecting much, being honest. Never stepped foot in a care home, never dreamt about being in a care home or working in a care home, especially.
Yeah.
But I walked in and thought, wow, this is nicer than the hotel I work in, and it was a
Right.
nice hotel.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, actually, I feel I could do something here. So that's where I left the hotel and come to work as an apprentice at Hallmark Care Home. So the apprenticeship was for a year. And what was great was I worked in lots of different departments, like the hotel. The good thing about hospitality is it opens so many doors up. Hospitality is an umbrella term for me. So in the hotel, for example, I started off in conferences, banquets. I also worked in the restaurant. I worked behind the bar when I turned 18. I even supported reception sometimes. I jumped in the kitchen on the odd occasion when the breakfast chef didn't turn up, or they might have been short on pot wash or whatever it might have been. But it opened, lots of doors up. Some I may not have enjoyed and thought, actually, that bit's not for me. But other
Yeah.
areas, I thought, actually, yeah, this is really good. This is a bit of me. So
But that's half the battle, isn't it? Especially early doors, is just getting around as many different departments as you can, because they're, as you say, you can't like everything. But it's about identifying the stuff that you do like, and the stuff that makes you want to get out of bed in the morning.
yeah, absolutely. I think, and that's the big thing for me. It's you need to enjoy your job to a certain extent. We all have bad days, but the good days need to outweigh them. Let's
Yeah.
be
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
realistic. So, and I think in a job you've got to feel fulfilled. That doesn't mean you earn £100,000 a year. You could be a multimillionaire. If you're not fulfilled, you're not happy.
Yeah.
That being a multimillionaire may fulfill you.
Yeah. Well, we're still
But
working towards
actually,
that one. So,
yeah, me too. But
but it's
actually,
true though.
mm,
The money thing is apparently, I can't remember where I've read this, but I've read this many times, that money actually as a motivator for people is generally quite far down the list, like item 5 or 6.
yeah,
Actually, the more important things are engagement to your work and a
hmm
feeling of belonging to the people around you, and that your voice is heard and respected, and all of these sorts of things outweigh the money. The money will come anyway, if you keep
hmm
kind of your head down and crack on. But yeah. Anyway, sorry, took you off your story.
no, absolutely, no, I completely agree. So yeah, so that gave me lots of sort of knowledge and supported me in starting an apprenticeship at Hallmark. So my first year at Hallmark, being the apprentice, was supporting every area, to be honest, if you like, and it really built up my knowledge for how a care home works. I spent time in the kitchen, I spent time with the housekeeping team, I spent time with the administrator, the management team, care team, literally every department within the care home. I got to see firsthand. I got to see the great stuff. I got to see the not so great stuff. How hard they work, and reception, etc. I always use reception as an example because I feel whatever job role you're in, you need to appreciate everyone's role. So, for example, the receptionist. If you don't know what a receptionist does, you look at them all day. All they do is sit there and answer a phone every so often.
Yeah,
That's a lot of people's image of a receptionist. However, a receptionist is a huge role. It's such an important role. They are the first face, people see. They're the first voice people hear. It's a really, really important role. And actually, that receptionist probably knows more about that home, the come-ins and go-ins, etc., than anyone else in
yeah.
the building. So actually, when you appreciate that a bit more, you have a lot more respect for them rather than just the person who sits at the desk and answers the phones every so often.
Yeah, totally. They're problem solvers, aren't they? I mean, that's
Mm,
effectively every interaction that they have is a problem to solve, and like
absolutely.
whether that is, oh, can you direct me to where your guest XYZ is, or
Hmm.
can you direct me to the restaurant, or I didn't like the broccoli yesterday, or whatever. And I use that example because when I was a receptionist with P&O, we just used to get so many complaints about broccoli.
Oh, wow.
Too, yeah, overcooked, undercooked, you name it, everything,
Yep,
anything.
from the
But
same batch as well. So yeah,
yeah,
and that's
yeah,
the important.
indeed.
Veg is difficult. Everyone likes their veg slightly different, and yeah, when you're cooking for multiple people, it is a challenge sometimes to get it right for everyone. But
Yeah,
again, that's about knowing your residents, knowing your clientele, and that's the better thing about care. For example, we know who's there, we know their likes, their dislikes, etc. Whereas, say, a restaurant or hotel, you don't know who's coming through that door
yeah, of
unless you
course.
ask 100 questions on their dish. What someone sitting down for dinner doesn't really want to answer all them questions. You're not going to know.
Yeah,
Again, doesn't make it easy, but it certainly
no,
helps.
for sure. Yeah, you're almost, I suppose, a private members club in that respect because you
Yeah,
can
you could put it
build
like that.
relations with your guests, and and as you say, you get to know their likes and dislikes, and you can evolve your offer around that.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think that's a huge, huge thing. Going off piece a bit, but that knowing your residents is the most important thing. Me and you could make a menu now, and we'd love it. We'd be happy as Larry for the next few months while it's on. But actually, if it's not something the residents like or want, then it's completely useless. And
Yeah,
that's for me is really important. We have a different menu in our care homes. Every care home, we've got 19 across England and Wales at the moment. Every home has a slightly different menu purely because we base it on the residents and the residents' feedback.
yeah,
If we had one menu for all care homes, there's going to be lots of residents who are not going to have something on the menu that they like every day, which to us just isn't acceptable.
yeah,
That's not a standard that we accept.
yeah. No, absolutely. So yes, back to
Um,
your story.
so yeah, I done my
There's a
year
lot of that. There's a
apprentice.
lot of that. Don't worry. The off-piste thing is just something that happens. So don't
No,
don't,
that's
don't
no,
worry
that's
about that.
cool. No problem at all. So I had a great year at Anisha Grange Care Home in Billericay for Hallmark as an apprentice, and then I was very lucky to be offered a trainee hospitality manager role. So within that, I worked. I had sort of each quarter was divided up, and it was really well managed. So my bosses at the time managed that. So I had a few months in one of our homes in Wales, who didn't have a hospitality manager at the time. So that was great. That was learned a lot, put it that way. It was really great. And just literally everything I was doing, I was just, like a sponge, just taking in all the knowledge and everything I could learn from. I was just storing it and yeah, just taking in as much as I could really.
Yeah,
And I finished, that was for another year. And I finished that year doing multiple projects around different homes. And again, every home is slightly different. So again, every home I took as much knowledge and as much feedback as I possibly could, and took it on with me. And I finished at Maycroft Manor in Brighton. I'd done a few months there whilst it was a commissioning home. So that was really great for me because I saw it in the construction stage. The first time I walked around, it was in hard hat, hard boots, high vis, etc.
brilliant. Yep.
Ceiling's still not quite in, and yeah, it was. I loved it. Especially with my sort of passion for building and construction,
Of
that
course.
really
Yeah.
really
Yeah. Yeah.
interested me. So
Yeah.
it's sort of going back a little bit as well, but it was really nice. It was really great to see that from a building site into a building when it was handed over into a home when residents started moving in. And for me,
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed that. So after that, we had a few more homes due to open. So I actually then applied for a role on the commissioning team. So I was a commissioning hospitality assistant. So literally my role was to support the commissioning manager at the time with every aspect of opening a care home. So the ordering, so the sort of the pre-orders of all the everything going into the homes, from your from your furniture down to your forks, literally.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting for me, from seeing a different aspect of the business again. I'd worked in lots of established homes, but actually this one was a brand new commissioning home, so that was really, really good for me. And I actually supported opening up, it was Maycroft Manor, and then we opened up Lakeview Care Home in Surrey and Annew Court in Rugby. So again, that was great for me. Learned as much as I could. I worked alongside some great hospitality managers at the time. So again, just trying to pick their brains for every piece of information, every bit of knowledge they had to steal from them, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then following that, a role came up in one of our homes for a hospitality manager. And I thought, well, it's a bit of a step. I know lots of aspects of the business now, but I'd never actually been a hospitality manager on my own in a home. I'd always sort of had that person near me to sort of help, if you like. So, but
Yeah.
again, it's about putting yourself out of that comfort zone, and you don't ask, you don't get, and why not? Let's give it a go. And I was lucky enough to be offered that role. So following my commissioning assistant role, I actually was a hospitality services manager within Bucklesham Grange in Ipswich. So one of our care homes in Hallmark. So
Yeah.
and again, huge learning curve for me. Still quite young at the time, thinking I know everything, of course. And
Obviously,
obviously,
that's part and parcel of being in your 20s, isn't it?
it is indeed, it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just learned so much. And yeah, I had a great team around me at the time, and again, learnt from them, and yeah, really developed. So I was there for 18 months as the hospitality manager. And to be honest with you, after I live in Brentwood, so after 18 months of travelling to Ipswich and back, it's about 120-mile round trip a day.
Yeah.
I was tired, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
So again, I had a great relationship with Hallmark. They'd really sorted me out with my career, to be honest with you. Without Hallmark, I started off as an apprentice on £2.65 an hour, I think it was at the time. And I'm sort of leaving as a hospitality manager. I never dreamt over a 4.5 year period that would happen when I first sort of
Yeah.
walked in through those doors. And, I've been forever grateful for that. And I actually left Hallmark, left on, very good terms, planned to come back one day, wasn't sure when, what or how. But at the time it was best for me personally to move to another care provider a lot closer to home.
Yeah. I suppose also probably useful for you to see something different as well, like it just in terms of giving you a rounded knowledge, different perspectives,
It
all of these sorts
was,
of things.
yeah, and I think, and it was probably one of the best things I've done, purely because, like you say, all I knew a lot about care homes, but I only knew Hallmark, and
Yeah.
that was, the only standard, and so I, naturally assumed, well, all care homes are like this, this is normal.
Yeah.
Whereas actually, when I went to the smaller company, I very quickly realised Hallmark isn't normal. It really
Right.
is. It really is sort of leading. It is a leading care provider. So yeah, that again, it was a great thing for me to look at another care provider, and we done so many great things there. So I supported one of our homes as a hospitality manager for around 6 months, and then I got asked to be the group hospitality manager for this company. So it was only 2 care homes, and I think it had 2 care homes being built at the time. So I had a little bit of commissioning knowledge, so that helped me within
Yep.
that. And then I was there for just over a year, and I was just made redundant randomly one day. So normal day at work, had my coat on just to leave, and pulled in the office, and yeah, just got made redundant just like that. And I thought, wow,
Wow.
did not see that coming at all.
Right.
They done a big restructure of the company. Well, I say big restructure. It was only a very small company, but I was a regional manager for the hospitality, and there was an ops manager for sort of everything else. And yeah, we were both made redundant. So was what it was. Everything happens for a
Yeah.
reason. And I was very lucky that the following day from that, I found another job very quickly with another care provider. and this was again for a hospitality manager role. So it was a huge life lesson for me. I'm not sure if I'm happy it happened or not, being made redundant, but
Yeah,
actually there's a lot of positives what can come out of it. So it's a great life lesson for me. You never know what's around the corner. You know,
totally. Yeah, and actually, it can be almost an inevitable part of somebody's career building is that might happen at some point in your life, and at the time it can feel like, oh my god, what am I going to do? Especially in your case, whereby you didn't see it coming. There was no kind of levers to say that this is going to happen, and therefore your role's at threat, or
yeah,
whatever. It's
absolutely.
just
And there was no sort of, oh, I'll start looking in the background just in case it happens. It was literally, 6:30 in the evening, we're making you
yeah,
redundant. Oh wow,
don't come in
okay.
tomorrow.
Yeah, literally, it was something
Yeah,
on them lines, to be honest. I was like,
crikey,
right,
yeah,
okay. So yeah, very lucky. I found a role with another care provider who, to be honest, they really helped me out in my time of need. I'd never a good time to be made redundant, but I think it was 3 or 4 months after I'd just purchased my first house with my partner Jess.
yep,
So yeah, that was a bit of a scary moment, I must admit.
yeah,
But yeah, the next day I was offered a role, hospitality manager with another small, well, not that small, another care provider larger than the one I'd come from. And yeah, it got me out of my time of trouble, to be honest with you. And I've again been very forever grateful to this company as well. So I had a great. I was only there for about 7 months, and I've done a couple of different roles. I've done a lot of the hospitality, and I also supported with the sales side of things as well. So sort of the customer relationship manager type role. So again, I'd never really done that side. So I'd done family visits. So I'd shown families round the home if they're looking to either move in themselves or moved in one of their loved ones, but I'd never
yep,
seen any other part of it, sort of the admin side of things. So that was again great for me to learn, a great career progression as well for me, to be honest, because I saw that other side of the business what I'd not really seen before. So yeah, again, forever grateful for that. And I had a great 7 months there, to be honest. And then a regional manager role or regional hospitality manager role came up at Hallmark again, and I thought maybe it's time to come back. I'd always said I would, and I did tell Hallmark I want to come back one day. Just now's not the time to sort of to stay, and there wasn't really anything else close to home or anything different at the time.
hmm.
So I actually came back to Hallmark, or I like to say I come crawling back to Hallmark after about just under 2 years. Yeah, so just under 2 years I come crawling back. And yeah, lucky enough, I was offered the regional hospitality manager role. So I was supporting all of our homes in England with all aspects of hospitality. And just 2 or 3 months ago, so in April, so 1st of April this year, 2022, I was then promoted to the group hospitality manager role, is what I do now. So very similar to before, but I now support all of our homes across England and Wales, and our sister company now, Residencies, which is our assisted living complex, which opened up last year, our first one in Hutton. So yeah, that's exciting as well.
Yeah, crikey, yeah. But it just shows you as well, like taking that time away. I mean, the life experience that you would have gained in that 2 years that you were away, having to deal with a redundancy and that, as you quite rightly say, at the time it feels horrible, but actually it can be one of the best things that ever happens to you. And certainly at the time, it probably taught you a little bit of resilience that you didn't know you had. And okay, you managed to get a job the next day, and then to come back and be able to take that life experience that you've learned into your new role, and then now you've obviously been promoted into this group wide role. Yeah, fabulous. What? So just talk to us about Hallmarks then, in terms of what you have across the portfolio now, and what your role actually involves.
Yeah, so Hallmark, so we're a family run business owned by the Goyle family, and we've currently got 19 care homes across England and Wales, and one Residency site in Hutton. We've got 3 more commissioning care homes, what are due to open next year. What again, really exciting. A new home is always exciting. Yeah, it opens up, a new team, a new home for residents, and yeah, it's another care home to support and enjoy, to be honest. So that's really, really exciting. So my role across the group now is to support, yeah, all of our homes with all aspects of hospitality. So for Hallmark, that means all the catering. So that means from our suppliers. So we try and use local butcher, local fruit and veg supplier for each care home. So again, from a business point of view, it's nice and easy just to have one butcher for the whole portfolio, one veg supplier for the whole portfolio. But actually, we feel the right thing to do is to support the local businesses within each home. Does cost us a little bit more money, to get that, but that money, it's so worth it because the quality we get from that small independent supplier is no comparison to the
Yeah.
sort of the larger national suppliers. So that's really, really good. So yeah, it's anything all the way from our suppliers, our food safety within the kitchen, food quality of what we use, the presentation of the dishes, the kitchen team putting that together, all the way through to the dining experience. So you can have the best food on a plate. If it's slapped on a plate and thrown in front of you, very unlikely that you're going to enjoy it, and vice
Yeah.
versa. You need that balance. If it could be really horrible food, if there's no flavor in it, there's no nutrition in it, and it's presented really nicely, you're probably still not going to enjoy it. Yes, it looks lovely, but there's no flavor, there's no, it's just not an enjoyable experience. So
Mm.
we we've got to get that balance between really good quality food and really well presented to the liking of that resident. Some residents eat little and often, some residents like a larger portion, and again it's asking that question, and it's knowing the residents on what they want. If you put too much in front of someone, that might put them off. Other people, they'll eat whatever's there. So it's just
Yeah.
knowing your residents. But it's a sort of a step further as well. We don't just want it to be lunchtime or dinner time or breakfast time. We want it to be that meal experience. So it's the ambience within the dining rooms. Care homes are a little bit different to say restaurants and hotels because this is their home. They live here, so it's entirely up to them where they eat. They can eat in their bedroom if they wish. We do try and promote the dining room just because of the social factor, and it's just a lot nicer really, and
Yeah.
we can gain that experience more. But it's just making it that enjoyable experience within the day rather than I've got to go and eat because I'm hungry. It's I want to go and have lunch because I'm going to enjoy myself. It's that sort of look on it. So it's all the catering all the way through from the farm all the way through to the fork and that experience in between. The housekeeping aspect of things, so obviously the cleanliness of the whole place. With hotels, care homes, etc. I don't care if you're a 2-star hotel or a 5-star hotel, it's got to be clean.
Yeah.
I'd rather stay in a clean 3-star hotel than a dirty 5-star hotel, for example. And I think most people will probably agree with that. So yeah, housekeeping really, really important. So yeah, we ensure we've got all the equipment we need. There's always new equipment coming out or different ideas or different concepts coming out, so we try and keep up to date with that. I'll say recently, probably 6 months ago or so, maybe a bit longer, we've changed over our chemicals now, so they're really sustainable. So again, that's really positive. So again, we look at not just the cleanliness, but how we get there. So products we use, the smart procedures we try and do, and of course, just making sure it's safe. It doesn't look clean. It's physically, it's clean. It's actually clean rather than just looks
Yeah.
clean, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Also, sort of the gardens as well. I work very closely with the estates team on the gardens, so making sure they're enjoyable by the residents. So we try and get residents involved in that as much as possible, and we try and make sure each home has got the area that they want. With established plants, seasonal plants. Try and get all your senses going. So look visually nice throughout the year, but you can also the scents from different plants as well is really powerful, really, really important. So yeah, I
Yeah.
work closely with them, and of course just the front of house feel to the whole place. So that involves the care team, that involves the lifestyles team, the maintenance team, the reception team, the cafe team. Every team within the home that
Yeah.
involves, because everyone is involved in creating that experience for residents, guests, and of course team as well.
Yeah. I think the thing for me was when there was a couple of things that really kind of stood out when I went to visit. One was the welcome, the I suppose the atrium feels more like a
Mm-hmm.
hotel than a care home, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the perception I had in my head of what a care home should be, because went straight. There was a cafe right there. There was buzz. There was stuff happening. People were interacting. It was lovely. It was it was there was life there, I think
Yeah.
is the point. And the second was the kitchen. uh, like state of the art doesn't cover it. And actually, the couple of people that I've sent to interviews with you, and I think you've thankfully hired a couple of chefs that I've sent your way, and thank you for that. Is the thing that they've always been blown away by was one, yes, the space, but two, the equipment that you have. Is, and if they need a piece of equipment to do a certain dish a certain way, then you get that in. There's lots of considerations, and it's not just about cost. And of course, you have to manage your costs. But actually, even the point you made there about where you go for your food supply, yes, you could go and get it cheaper somewhere else, but that's not the point. The point is that actually you're doing something you're supporting the local community by going to a local supplier, which actually has it's just a reciprocal benefit for everyone involved. And
Yeah, it's a win-win situation, isn't it? Especially things
yeah,
like that. But yeah, no, I'm glad and thank you for mentioning the state-of-the-art kitchens we have. And yes, I think again the perception of care homes is you might have a small domestic oven if you're lucky, a small little grill, and you'll do what you can. It's all chucked in a
yeah, a couple of
gastronorm.
soup urns, and that's it. Yeah,
There you go. Yeah, exactly that. But actually, no. We do cook-offs for our chefs. It's not someone. First stage interview is a chat, face to face, sort of traditional interview, and then the second stage, if they are successful, is they've got to prove to us they can cook.
yeah,
And this is for their benefit and ours because they get to see what we're all about and whether we're the right place for them to work, and also we get to see what they can do as well and what they can bring to the table. So we do have chefs in our kitchens, not just cooks, and
yeah,
that's for me is a very big thing. There's a very big difference between cooks and chefs. And we've got a really, really strong team of chefs. We've got an executive chef as well, Brian, who brings, a wealth of knowledge and supports all of our homes with, just guidance and support, which is invaluable to all our kitchens. But yeah, we've got, state of the art, rationale ovens and other, key bits of equipment. But, for me, like you say, we have got budgets, of course, we're a business. But at the same time, if we can prove that we need something and, if we have this piece of equipment, we can now provide X, Y, and Z, especially with Hallmark, what I probably didn't appreciate with my first stint with Hallmark, then actually, if you've given a good enough reason, actually, we can benefit from this, 99 times out of 100, they're going to say, yes, go for it, and would this benefit other homes as well? So it's
yeah.
all stuff. We've got lots of little projects going on in the background in each different home. And then if something is successful, we will then share that with the wider homes as well. So we are Team Hallmark. My group of HSMs or hospitality services managers, we do have a regular call. So through COVID, it was weekly, just for a shoulder sometimes, but also updates with guidance. And if anyone's struggling with something, someone on that call has probably got an answer. You're not alone, and it was that sort of call. And we now do that. We was doing it bi-weekly, and we've just moved that to monthly now. But everyone knows each other. All the hospitality managers know each other. We all get on really well. They can all just phone each other and ask for guidance and support, which is really nice. And it really works well. And I think that is really, really important for that.
Totally. I think as well, it's what you're actually providing as well is possibly one of the most honourable pieces of hospitality you can deliver, because you're delivering hospitality to people in their later years when they've kind of they're well. I'm just assuming things here. I'm just always using my own parents as a reference point, but people are beginning to slow down a bit. But it doesn't mean that they don't want to have input and involvement in how your product is made and evolves.
Yeah, and like I mentioned earlier, we could create a menu, but if it's not something the residents want, then it's a rubbish menu, basically.
Yeah,
And again, that's why we have a different menu in all of our homes, because the menu in Rugby, for example, is very different to the menu in Brighton. They both work really well in their own homes, but I know if I switched them, it would not work. And
yeah,
again, that's where I do feel Hallmark are different, and other care providers do the same thing or similar things, but we try and do everything for the right reason, rather than, it's just, it's all about the bottom line or whatever it might be, or we could save lots of money if we just change supplier. Well, we can save a lot of money, but actually we lose quality. And what I love as well is, my boss is above me. I'm always pushing on an open door. When it's about quality, yes, I'll need to request authorization, but again, it's normally a very easy and very nice conversation to have, because
Mm,
we're all about moving forward. We have got a great product, but we're always looking at how we can better ourselves.
yeah.
And residents within our homes are the key to that. If we need to know all the residents, and meet and hopefully exceed their expectations.
Yeah. How do we make their experience the best possible experience while they're here?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So you and I met actually. I think we'd spoken once on the phone, but we actually met face to face at an IOH networking event.
We did.
And again, this is busting the own myth that exists within my head. I never expected to see you at an IOH event for whatever reason, but yeah, why were you there? What's your objective with the IOH?
So for me, hospitality is, again, perceptions, and over the years, it's mainly, if someone says hospitality to you, you're more than likely going to think of a hotel or a restaurant. And one of my personal goals, this year really, is to try and get care homes out there and be within the hospitality conversations with hotels and restaurants.
Yep,
Like you said, we've got state of the art kitchens, we've got some amazing chefs, and the food we produce is really good. It varies in different homes, again, depending on the requests from the residents. But we do have some really lovely restaurant food being served from our kitchens in our homes. So for me, there's no reason why, you know, care homes shouldn't be in the same league and in the same conversations as hotel and restaurants. We've got all the same positions. It's just a slightly different clientele that we are catering for. And I could argue there's quite a few extra benefits working in care than hotels and restaurants as well. So that was sort of my first event, mainly due to COVID, but my first face-to-face event in quite a while. And that's why I really enjoy just speaking to different hotels, a couple of different restaurants, obviously yourself, and I met a couple of suppliers there as well. And again, it's for me, it's about gaining knowledge, getting information, and just seeing how people can work together.
yeah.
Especially in care, we all have the same goal at the end of the day. We want to provide outstanding care for all residents within our homes. So actually, why don't we just have a conversation and work together?
Totally. I could not agree more. I mean, I think that I've talked about that so often on this show about there's so much knowledge out there, not just within your own sector, but within the other sectors that exist within hospitality. That together, if we kind of just got better at that, we'd all rise and elevate each other
Yeah.
and help each other get to the next stage and blah 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 blah. So yeah, I couldn't agree with it. I think the IOH has become a really good conduit for that,
Hmm.
and is only getting better as well. Again, after a period of rest, I suppose, through COVID. But yeah, so excellent. Okay, so from your career so far, you're still quite a young man. Still got a long way to go, I would imagine, in terms of your ambition, etc., etc. But have you got any funny stories from your career so far that you can share with us?
Funny story is quite a difficult one. I think probably one of them things what wasn't quite as funny at the time, but a few minutes after, and especially looking back now, was quite funny. Was probably back in the hotel.
Yeah,
So over the Christmas period, we were extremely busy, like most hotels, doing dinner dances and lots of events like that. And I just remember, and it stuck with me. One of the things I'm not sure if I'll ever forget was clearing empty glasses. Quite late, towards the end of the night, with lots of people still there, dancing and having great fun. And I managed to slip on the floor straight down. Managed to save most of the glasses. To be fair, I just want to add that in there.
right.
But yeah, as you can imagine, everyone in the whole room saw it and heard it probably. And yeah, it was something at the time rather embarrassing. Sort of got up as quickly as I could, collected the couple of glasses I did drop, sort of went back a house to put it down and get the mop, etc. But yeah, no, that was certainly a highlight that's kept with me, which everyone there found highly amusing at the time.
Yeah, well, there's an unwritten law, isn't there, that if there's a glass drops or a plate drops somewhere, that everybody in the vicinity has to go, hey!
Yeah, and so everyone on the night certainly knew that unwritten law.
Yeah, and that's the last noise you want to hear when you're the one who's actually done it
Yeah,
as well.
all eyes on you, absolutely.
Yeah, but do you know what? I think that's also part of the learning process, right? Is that things like that are inevitable. They will happen.
Hmm.
It's how you deal with them, and then how you'll try to make sure that that doesn't happen again. So maybe you'll
Yes.
be a little bit more sure of your footing the next time, or whatever.
Exactly. There's always any event, however bad you think it is, there's always a learning somewhere in there you can learn something.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, what would be your top three reasons for somebody to come and join hospitality?
So for me, you need a job what brings fulfillment into your life. I don't believe anyone is truly happy unless they are fulfilled. So like I mentioned, you could be a multimillionaire, you could be, earning loads and loads and loads of money a year, but if you're not fulfilled, you're never going to feel happy.
Yeah,
Um, and I really truly believe the hospitality industry does this. There's such a wide variety of characters within, restaurants, hotels, care homes, wherever you're working within hospitality. There's a huge variety of that, and you make friends very, very quickly. And a lot of them are friends for life. I've still got friends back in the hotel, and I worked there. I was only there 18 months, and that was 10 years ago now. And I'm still very close with them people, which is
yeah,
which is really, really nice. So the second one is variety. So most roles, whether it's an office role or whatever sort of role it might be, it's normally you go there to do one thing, one specific role. Whereas hospitality, it is that umbrella term. So I was lucky enough within the hotel to work in, the banquets, reception, restaurant, bar, housekeeping, even the kitchen, so I wouldn't have got that variety elsewhere. Like I mentioned earlier, it might be areas that you don't want to pursue in your career,
mm,
whereas actually it might be areas where you think, actually, this is a bit of me and this I do feel fulfilled, within that.
yeah,
And I think probably the third, I've probably mentioned it in number one, to be honest. But yeah, just going back to the team bonding, I think is just, I think it's so powerful, that team bonding, that, the support in every area. I think it's one of the few areas of work where everyone, it doesn't matter what department you're in within the hotel or within the care home, that everyone helps each other. It's not like, well, I'm a kitchen assistant, so I can't do the cooking. It's
yeah,
no, the chef and the kitchen assistant work really closely together. The care team, they work really closely with the kitchen as well. The housekeeping work really closely with the care team, the lifestyle team, the laundry team, even the garden team. Every single department, it's never, that's not my job, walk away.
yeah.
It's always, how can I help? Let's do this together. And that just is so powerful. And again, just gives you that respect for your colleagues. They respect you. And it's just such a nicer place to work when everyone supports each other. And of course, we get a better outcome, which is a better outcome for the residents.
Totally. It's yeah. I mean, you kind of live and die together, don't you, as a team? So
Yeah.
you share your successes and your failures, and take the learning together, and and you can't help but build bonds with people when you're in that kind of environment. And that all stems from leadership. Ultimately, I think if the leadership are creating the opportunity for people to do that, and there's not this isolation from team to team, then that's ultimately when you get sparks flying and really good stuff can happen.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Could not agree more.
It sounds like very much you guys are nailing that at Hallmark for sure.
Yeah. We try.
Great. Well, yeah. Last question before I let you on your way. What does the next year have in store for Hallmark? Where's the next big thing?
So I think with Hallmark over the next year or so, so a little time before COVID, and sort of as soon as I came back 4 years ago, I started building on the Hallmark hospitality standards. So it's sort of the Bible for hospitality standards across our group. So again, being careful, it is a guide. It's not your lounge has to look like this or your cafe has to look like this. It is purely a guide, and then it is resident led. Like I mentioned, it's their
Yep.
home. They
It's like
lead on
the
what we provide.
foundation.
Exactly, yeah, exactly that, and it's sort of a minimum
Yeah.
standard we want to get to. So, obviously, COVID put a little bit of an obstacle in the place in place for that, and certain restrictions. We couldn't do certain things. It doesn't mean that there wasn't a high standard there. It just meant we couldn't quite do it the way we wanted to do it. So,
Yeah.
as the restrictions have eased a lot, they're still not quite back to normal, especially in care homes, but they are. We're certainly moving in the right direction. A lot of these standards really are coming back in place now. So we've now created and just launched last month the Crystal Award. So the Crystal Award is just an internal award at Hallmark, and that celebrates the hospitality excellence. So for me, it's not something where we do an audit, well done, you've done really well on this visit, here's the Crystal Award. It's something what is consistent over a long period of time. So, for example, it's got to be that standard consistently maintained for, a minimum of 6 months, say, before you do receive the Crystal Award. But it's not job done once you've received the award. It is, you've got to maintain that standard. If you don't, we'll take your award away. And obviously, team benefits will come in with that. We've got a great team recognition budget. We'll certainly be, dipping into that once they do receive the Crystal Award. So for me, that's my main focus this year on supporting the homes on being able to achieve the Crystal Award themselves. But again, like you mentioned, we want this to be a foundation. We are already got lots of ideas for the next, 1, 2, 3 years time on the hospitality we want to offer. Hospitality, it's a given that you need a clean care home. It's a given you should be providing good food, and a good experience. But what else can we do, to really give everyone, from residents who live here, the team members who work within the homes, plus, family and friends of the residents as well. What can we do to give them that experience to, really want to come in? It's not just, I've not seen my mum or my grandmother or relative for a few weeks, I better pop in. It's actually, they live in a beautiful home. I really want to spend time there. Like you say, they can come in and go to the coffee shop. It's all inclusive. So there's no sort of fees to pay or anything. It's all inclusive. So they can come and, have a coffee, or they can go outside if it's nice weather in our lovely gardens. It's just getting that wow factor, but just keep building. I think with hospitality, if you think, right, we've made it, job done, it's not for you.
It's game over. Yeah.
It's right. What can we do next? What can we do next? What can we do? And just having that mindset of, keep going. And I was lucky enough, I went on holiday a couple of weeks ago and stayed it was a nice hotel. And I was just getting ideas, what do they do? A couple of things I wouldn't fancy doing, but of course you find that everywhere. But there was lots of, took lots of photos and thought, I like that.
Yeah.
And just continue building on what we're doing at the moment.
Yeah, I can just see you coming back loaded with ideas, and all of your hospitality managers going, "Oh God, Rob's come back from holiday again. What have we got in store now?"
Something on them lines, yes, I believe.
Yeah, wicked, great stuff. Well, no, thank you very much for coming on and sharing your story. A very, very interesting part of the industry, and I think it feels like it is moving forward at a rate of knots, and the recognition for what you guys are doing is just getting better and better. So I wish you continued success. I'm going to keep pilfering away my savings into my retirement fund so that I can afford to come and live in one of your homes for my later years. They are beautiful, beautiful places, and wish you well for the next year ahead and beyond.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. It's very much appreciated. And yeah, I'm sure we'll catch up very soon.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Rob. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. And there we have it. A huge thank you to Rob for coming on and talking about his career and what Hallmark are up to. I think we can all agree the sector firmly deserves its seat at the hospitality table. We will, of course, be back next Wednesday with another cracking story from hospitality. So until then, thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.